If you had met me a year ago, you probably would have described my life as simple, quiet, even. I worked a steady job as an HR assistant at a mid-sized marketing firm in Portland. I rented a small but cozy two-bedroom apartment near the river, enjoyed my morning coffee from the same corner cafe, and went to yoga every Tuesday. I liked my life that way. Predictable, calm, drama-free. Then came Lauren. She was a new hire at my company, transferred from our San Diego branch. She was charming, effortlessly social, always with a story to tell. When she mentioned she was apartment hunting, I offered the spare room in my place. It felt like the right thing to do. Rent was steep in Portland, and I could use the help. Plus, she seemed sweet. At first, everything went smoothly. We cooked dinner together, watched bad reality shows, and even started doing morning runs around the neighborhood. She talked about her exes, her crazy family, and how she just wanted a fresh start. I listened. I always do. Maybe I listened too much. About 2 months in, little things started to shift. Lauren would borrow my clothes without asking, sometimes even my jewelry. She'd scroll through my phone playlist, leave my laptop open, or invite people over without telling me. It bugged me, sure, but I brushed it off. I didn't want to seem uptight. Then came the questions. Odd ones. "How much do you make again?" she asked casually one night, sipping wine on the couch. "Do you ever get confidential stuff at work? Ever hook up with anyone at the office?" I laughed them off, thinking she was just being nosy. But she asked them more than once. I noticed she started spending more time with our department supervisor, Justin, laughing in the break room, sharing lunch. Still, I didn't suspect anything, not then. Looking back now, I wish I had. I wish I had trusted that uncomfortable feeling in my gut, the one that whispered something's off. But at the time, I chalked it up to roommate quirks and new friendship hiccups. What I didn't know was that Lauren was paying close attention to everything. What I typed, what I said, where I stored files, even when I was out of the apartment. And soon she would use that against me in ways I never imagined. It started on a Tuesday. I was called into HR for a confidential meeting. My heart jumped. I'd never been in trouble before, never even gotten a warning. I walked in expecting it to be about a department transfer or a benefits update. But the look on our HR director's face told me otherwise. "Mia," she said gently, "we've received a complaint, actually a serious one." My palms went cold. Someone had anonymously accused me of sharing sensitive employee information, details about salaries, upcoming layoffs, even personal matters from internal reports. The accusation claimed I was spreading it to people outside the company via email and texts. "That's not true," I said instantly. "I would never—" "There are screenshots," she cut in. I stared at the printed pages. It looked like my email. It looked like my number. But I didn't remember writing or sending any of it. I felt dizzy. My voice cracked as I tried to explain. "This has to be a mistake. They didn't fire me. Not yet. But I was put on administrative leave, effective immediately, pending an internal investigation." I walked out of that office shaking. Back at the apartment, Lauren was making avocado toast like it was any other day. I tried to act normal, but she noticed something was off. "You okay?" she asked. I sat down slowly. "Someone filed a complaint against me for leaking company info." She dropped the knife. "What? That's insane." I nodded. "They have messages, emails. I don't know how." Lauren looked genuinely shocked. Or maybe she was just a really good actress. "I mean, you haven't done anything, right?" That question stuck with me. It wasn't, "Do you think it's a mistake?" or "How can I help?" It was, "You haven't done anything, right?" I brushed it off again. I was too overwhelmed to think straight. That night, I barely slept. I kept going over everything in my mind. Had I left my laptop open? Did I ever talk about work over text? Could someone have hacked me? The next morning, I changed all my passwords and set up two-factor authentication. I even removed my work email from my phone. But the damage had already started. People at work stopped replying to my texts. A few unfollowed me on social media. My supervisor, Justin, didn't return my calls. And through it all, Lauren was helpful. Too helpful. She made dinner, she offered to help sort through my emails, she said she was on my side. But something about her comfort level with the whole situation felt off. Way off. At first, I tried to convince myself I was just being paranoid. Lauren was probably just trying to help, right? She made me tea, left little notes of encouragement, even brought home my favorite Thai takeout one night. But something about her felt performative. Like she was playing a role. And sometimes, she slipped. One night, I came home early from a walk and found her in my room. She jumped when I opened the door. "Oh, I was just grabbing your charger," she said, holding up the cord like it explained everything. Except my charger was on my desk, not in the drawer she'd been rifling through. Another time, I caught her staring at my laptop screen. I'd left it on sleep mode, and when I walked in, she slammed it shut so fast it nearly tipped over. "Sorry," she laughed nervously. "Didn't mean to snoop." But the next morning, my desktop background had changed. Something was off. Deep down, I knew it. I decided to talk to someone I trusted, Ethan, a college friend who now worked in cybersecurity. We hadn't spoken in months, but when I texted him a vague, "Can you help me check if someone's spying on my laptop?" he replied in 5 minutes flat. He met me that weekend, brought tools, ran scans, and what he found made my blood run cold. My laptop had been accessed remotely several times over the past month. A keylogger had been installed recording everything I typed: passwords, emails, private messages. It had been installed manually, meaning someone had physically used my laptop to set it up. "You're being monitored, Mia," he said. And not by accident. I felt sick. I thought back to all the times Lauren had accidentally borrowed my laptop, asked me to log in real quick, or offered to help me respond to work emails when I was stressed. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't, because I still had no solid proof that she did it, and if I accused her without it, she could twist it back on me. Again. So I didn't confront her. Not yet. I started playing along. I acted grateful. I thanked her for being supportive. I even left my laptop open a few times, on purpose. And just like I hoped, she took the bait. But this time, I was ready. I didn't sleep much that week. Every time I looked at Lauren, my skin crawled. She smiled so sweetly, asked if I needed anything, offered to drive me to my lawyer's office just in case I wanted to explore legal options. The nerve of her. But I kept up the act. I let her think I trusted her. I played the role of the naive, broken roommate. And all the while, Ethan and I were building our plan. We installed a program on my laptop that tracked every access, every file opened, and every keystroke. Ethan also gave me a small camera hidden in a clock, positioned perfectly to face my desk. Then, I set the trap. I crafted a fake email. It looked like it was going to my company's legal team, explaining that I had new evidence and was prepared to pursue a defamation lawsuit. I left the email open in a draft, right on my desktop, and forgot to close my laptop before heading out to meet Ethan. 3 hours later, I came home and went straight to the footage. There she was. Lauren entered my room 10 minutes after I left. She glanced around, then walked straight to my laptop. She didn't hesitate. She opened it, clicked through files, and finally opened the fake email draft. She stared at it for a long time. Then she did something I didn't expect. She took photos of the screen with her phone. Ethan and I watched in silence. My stomach churned, but my mind was calm. We had her. The next day, I planted another seed. I told Lauren my company wanted to schedule a final interview with me before deciding whether to escalate things legally. That night, she struck again. Same move. Waited until I was out. Went back to my laptop, but this time she tried to delete some files. Then she logged into an old Gmail account under my name. She was trying to cover her tracks, and now she was sloppy. The next morning, Ethan compiled everything: texts, messages, metadata. We put together a complete file. Then I made an appointment with HR. Ethan was out. It was time to end this. The meeting with HR was scheduled for Friday morning at 9 a.m. I'd barely slept the night before. My nerves were on edge, but under all that fear was something new. Anger. A deep, burning sense of betrayal. I walked into the office carrying a flash drive, a manila envelope, and Ethan's full report. The HR director, Monica, gave me a tight smile. Justin, my supervisor, was also there. His expression was unreadable. I appreciate you coming in, Mia, Monica began. We're finalizing our investigation and wanted to— I have something to show you, I interrupted, placing the envelope on the table. I believe this will change everything. I walked them through the evidence step by step: video footage, remote access logs, screenshots of Lauren accessing and modifying files, and metadata showing the edits happened while I was away. Monica's face turned from skeptical to shocked. Justin leaned forward, squinting at the time-stamped screenshots. Wait, she accessed your laptop that many times? I nodded. She installed spyware on my computer. She framed me. Silence fell over the room. Then Monica cleared her throat. Mia, this is substantial. We'll need to verify everything, of course, but if this checks out, Lauren will be terminated immediately, and you will be reinstated. My chest loosened for the first time in weeks. By the time I left the building, I felt lighter, vindicated. Lauren was called into HR that afternoon. I wasn't allowed in that meeting, but I saw her face when they escorted her out. She looked stunned, pale. For once, she didn't have a comeback or a smirk. Just a duffel bag and security walking beside her. Later that day, Monica called to confirm Lauren had been fired on the spot. They found traces of the spyware on her personal laptop, too. She'd been planning to continue accessing my accounts even if I'd left the company. I sat in my car for a long time after that call. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared out the windshield, letting the weight of everything wash over me. She had tried to ruin me. And for a while she almost did. But I didn't let her win. In the days after Lauren was fired, I expected to feel relief, and I did, for a while. But then came the aftermath. The damage she caused didn't just disappear. The rumors she started had already circulated. Some coworkers avoided me in the halls. Others were polite but distant, unsure what or who to believe. I could see the hesitation in their eyes. My supervisor, Justin, apologized privately. I should have asked more questions, he said, eyes low. I didn't want to believe it could happen under my watch. I told him I appreciated his honesty, and I did. But the truth is, the whole experience left scars I didn't expect. Work felt different. My desk, once a place of comfort, felt exposed. I kept glancing over my shoulder, double-checking everything I sent, every word I said. I trusted no one. I decided to move out of the apartment within a week. The lease was still in my name, so legally Lauren had to go, but I didn't want to live in that space anymore. Every corner reminded me of what she did, of how close I came to losing everything. I found a small studio on the east side of Portland, just me, my books, and a peace I hadn't felt in months. One evening, I was unpacking when I found a note tucked inside an old journal. It was from myself, written nearly a year earlier. A list of goals. Be braver, speak up, stop letting people take advantage of your kindness. I smiled. Not because I had achieved all those things yet, but because I was finally trying. Ethan came by that weekend to help set up my internet and security software. As he left, he looked at me and said, "You know, you handled all of this better than most people I know." I didn't feel like I had. But maybe that was the point. Surviving something doesn't mean you come out unshaken, it just means you came out stronger, more aware, and maybe a little less naive. I still hadn't decided if I would pursue legal action. HR had given me that option, and a few attorneys had reached out. But for now, I just wanted to breathe. I'd been fighting for weeks, now I needed to rest. Healing wasn't linear. Some days I felt strong, clear-headed, motivated. Other days I woke up with a pit in my stomach, wondering if I could ever trust anyone again. I kept replaying the whole thing in my head, not because I wanted to, but because my brain refused to let it go. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Denise. In our first session, I sat across from her and blurted out, "I don't know if I'm angry or ashamed." She just nodded and said, "You're probably both, and that's okay." It helped to talk to someone who didn't look at me with pity or judgment. Denise helped me put words to what I was feeling: betrayal, violation, humiliation, but also resilience. Meanwhile, word of what really happened started spreading at work. HR eventually released an internal memo clarifying that I had been falsely accused and cleared of all wrongdoing. Some coworkers reached out, texted me, apologized, asked if I wanted to grab coffee, but others stayed silent. And I had to be okay with that. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It just meant I was done letting it eat me alive. One afternoon, I ran into Justin in the elevator. He held the door and said, I'm glad you fought back. Most people would have walked away. I smiled and replied, I almost did. We stood in silence for a moment before he added, she fooled all of us. But she didn't break you. That line stuck with me. I wasn't the same person I was before this happened. I was more guarded, sure, but also more aware of my own boundaries, more willing to say no, less interested in being liked, and more focused on being respected. I made new friends, slowly, carefully, people who earned my trust, not expected it. And I started volunteering at a local shelter on weekends. Something about helping people who'd been through trauma made me feel a little more whole again. Lauren didn't reach out. I never expected her to, but I found out through a mutual connection that she'd moved back to California. Her reputation was damaged, and she'd lost 2 job offers once word of the HR investigation got out. I didn't feel satisfied. I felt done. Done carrying the weight of what she did, done blaming myself for not catching it sooner. I wasn't healed, not completely, but I was healing. And that was enough. Months have passed since everything happened. The sting isn't as sharp now. I still have moments, when I get an unexpected email or when someone asks to borrow my laptop, but they're just moments. They don't control me anymore. I've taken my life back. I got promoted recently. HR offered me a new role, leading employee wellness and integrity programs. The irony isn't lost on me, but maybe that's the point. I know what it feels like when the system fails you. And I want to make sure no one else goes through what I did. At least not without support. I moved into a new apartment closer to downtown. It's small but full of light. I painted the walls myself, bought real plants, started cooking again. I even adopted a rescue dog. Her name is Olive, and she follows me everywhere. Some nights, I sit on my balcony with a glass of wine and think about everything that happened, how someone I trusted tried to destroy me, how close she came, but also how I fought back. Not with anger, not with revenge, with truth. I could have let the lie swallow me. I could have quit, moved away, started over in some other city, and honestly, I thought about it. But then I remembered something my mom used to say. People can take your time, your energy, even your peace, but they can't take your truth unless you give it to them. Lauren didn't get mine. This story isn't neat. It doesn't wrap up with a perfect bow. Some people still look at me sideways. Some wounds still sting when poked. But I'm not ashamed of what I went through. Because I survived it, I stood up, I proved she lied, and I learned that even when people doubt you, ignore you, or turn their backs, you still get to know who you are. That's power. That's peace. And that's mine.